Hello, grade 5. So we are now in our new topic. So this is in Skills Handbook, part 1, lesson 2 of your book. So how do scientists investigate? So shall we start? Okay, scientific investigation. Have you ever tried to investigate for something? Have you ever tried to ask question and try to investigate to solve your question or to find the answer to your question? Now, scientific investigation usually begins with observation. Someone observes that cars with a certain shape are more fuel efficient. Scientists then ask a question about the observation and collect data to answer their question. An important way to find reliable answer is to do an experiment. An experiment is the use of scientific method to test their hypothesis. Remember that hypothesis is a wild guess to your experiment. So let's try to say that one scientist wants to figure it out about one certain problem about a car because he's experimenting about a car. So this picture shows that one scientist is observing about airbag. You know what is an airbag? An airbag, this is a protective safety feature of a car to prevent people from accident. Okay, so airbag will just show up when you have a rapid accident. So I will show you here airbag so that you know, because maybe some of you didn't see an airbag before in the car. Okay, so an airbag is one of the safety feature of car. So it looks like this one or this one. So if the car meets an accident, of course, with the passenger, so the airbag will pop up. Okay, so some cars have it here in the uh, sideways of the car or in the door of the car, and then most of the car have a feature of front airbag, which will be here. It looks like this one also. Okay, so when it's pop up, it looks like this one. It prevents people banging on the dashboard or in the glasses of the car. Okay, so that is an airbag. Now let's proceed to our presentation. Okay, here. So that is an experiment. Now, there is no simple scientific method for finding answer. Biologists, a scientist that study about life, have a different methods of studying also. If you compare biologists to astronomers, remember that biologists is the scientist that study about life, while astronomer is a scientist that study about planets and stars. If you compare the methods of biologists to astronomers, of course they are different. Remember, biologist is studying life, while astronomer is studying non-living thing, which is a star and planets. So their steps and then their method are different because their subject is also different. So we cannot compare them. But of course, the difference is really wide, but they also have similarities. The similarities is they are doing investigation, they are doing experiment to prove their study correct. Okay, so that is investigation. So let's try to answer number 1. Write a possible hypothesis what the scientist is thinking about as he does his experiment. So he's doing an experiment about the safety of the car. So possible answer is if there are airbags in the car, then it will be safer. because the airbags will slow down the passenger down in an accident. Before, there was no airbag in cars. But now, we have now the technology of airbag. Why is that? Because some scientists before study that when you have an airbag, it is more safer to travel when you have an airbag, because if suddenly accident happen, something inside your car can prevent you banging on the dashboard of the car. So traveling now is more safer because of airbag. Okay, because it prevents the accident inside our car. Okay, so that is one good way of doing research. It makes our life safer. At the same time, it makes our life easy. So that is one role of doing an investigation and experiment. Now let's proceed to the next slide. Scientists also use model. When we are talking about model, this is not the fashion model, okay? Model is an object or ideas to represent the research. So, for example, in this picture, one scientist used a model of clay to represent his car, and some scientists also use a model using a computer. So when they use a computer, it is easily to project, it is easily to show it uh, to your class or to your clients or to other people, because you have something to prove that this is the shape, this is the size, this is the color. It's easy to represent. Like me, I'm a teacher. It's hard to discuss a topic without a PowerPoint presentation. Example, if I am just recording my voice and doing the lesson, it's hard for you to understand what I am saying. It's easy for you to understand when you are seeing something. And then that is the technology of computer and internet, right? Because without an internet, I cannot deliver my lesson to you in Classera and then in YouTube. So this is an example also of model. So same also with this illustration. So let's try to answer number 2. Give an example. What is another advantage of using computer-generated model of a car? Okay, so here the man is using a model using a clay. And then another scientist is using a digital version, meaning it's a computer-based model. So possible answer here, it probably cheaper. Why? Example, if the model of this one doesn't work, of course the scientist will need to do it again, and then he needs to buy another clay, he needs to do it again, and then it will consume time. Unlike if you are doing it in the computer, you will just do edit and then create another. You could change color and shape and design. Remember the dress up game in your computer? If you don't like the dress of your doll, you could change it. You could pick another one. Same also with computer generated software like this one. It could change shape and color of car. So it's more cheaper. It's more faster, and time uh, you will not consume a lot of your time. At the same time, it makes changes to computer model of a car than to real car. So actually, it's more easy to do model in computer compared to real life. But of course, if you are a scientist doing a car, you need to do that actual car so that you know what is the result. But for the first step, you need to do it in your computer. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the next. After doing a model, scientists could use survey and sampling. What is a survey? A survey is a set of questionnaire given to people, and then after that one, they record it. An example of survey is this one. For sure, you see many surveys. Example, this is a Netflix survey. How would you describe your satisfaction with the movies and TV shows in Netflix? So there are some choices here, right? So choices will be one will be satisfied, and then six and what I mean here, not applicable, and then seven is extremely satisfied. So here number one, not satisfied, and then number seven is extremely satisfied, meaning you are really satisfied with the services of Netflix at home. So you will choose this one. Okay, so this is an example of questionnaire. Another form of questionnaire is just like this one. You will just choose. So Skype, it's just like a social media application. It's just like WhatsApp. Okay, so it is asking about your feedback. Okay, so if it is excellent, good, fair, poor, or very bad, this is asking about the call quality feedback. So how would you rate overall the quality of this call? Is it excellent, good, fair, or very bad? So this is an example of survey. Survey could be sent in email, or it could be in a paper form. It could also be in your mobile phone. So there are many ways now how to get a survey. Another is sampling. What is a sampling? Sampling is an example of your data. Okay. This scientist is getting a sample of water. So he is testing the water, if it is a good water for the fish, or is it a bad water for the fish. So this is getting a sampling or example of experiment. Now let's try to answer number 3. Write one question that the doctor could be asking the patient in the picture below. So let's try to look at that one. So this doctor is asking some questions. So what will be the possible question? Because here it shows in question in this paragraph, I need to go back here. Scientists also use sampling to collect data. Scientists examine random individuals from a population. For example, the doctor may examine few people from a picnic and see how healthy they are. Doctor can then generalize the result to all the people at the picnic. So remember, when you go to a park, one of the activity that you do in the park is doing a picnic. If a scientist wants to study about the place cleanliness, what it would be, what question would it be asked to the people going to the park or to the corniche? Because he is studying about the cleanliness of the park or corniche. So one possible question that he might ask to the people going there is, what did you eat in the picnic? Okay, so there are many possible questions. So this is just one of the questions that the doctor might need to ask, because he is evaluating, who he is studying the relationship of cleanliness to food, or the relationship of activity to the place. Okay, so that is another way of asking question. So this type of question is not personal because you are just sending it to the people. This is a personal way of asking. Okay, so let's go to question number 4. How would a scientist use sampling to investigate the health of a deer population in a forest preserve? So this is an example. If you want to study about the population of deer is an animal, right? So what it would be? The possible answer is scientists could test a small part of the deer population for a sickness.